So we have a few exposure assistance tools that we can use to make sure that we're keeping the right exposure and we're not over or underexposing our image. So the first one that we have is the waveform. So if we press number 4 on the side of the camera, this brings up our waveform. Same as peaking, this won't show on the recorded video, so I will bring up the waveform from my editor just so you can see what it looks like. So on this scale, on the waveform, 0 represents your shadows and your darkest black, and 100 represents your highlight and your highest brightness point. And if we adjust our aperture, we can just see what this would look like. So if we go darker and close our aperture, we can see the waveform is coming right down and just collapsing against the bottom. And then if we go the opposite way and open right up, we can see that those highlights have blown out up at the top, and we're going to be losing that detail in the image in those highlights because it's just too bright. So we want to close the aperture again, make sure it's looking good, and then we're okay. And there's also zebras, and zebras are a really useful tool. This is the one that I would use mainly. So there'll be a couple of different settings that I'll use these on, and I'll just show you what these are. Again, the zebras don't record through this output, so I will simulate that in the edit just so you can see what they look like. So our zebras, if we turn them on number 3 on the side of the camera, there's a button marked zebra. And then if we go into our menu and to the 6th tab across at the top, assistant functions, if we go down on tab 4, this is where we can turn our zebras on or off and change the levels. Now at the moment we can see they're on at 70%. If I'm filming something like an interview and I need to expose for someone's face, I'll set my zebras to 70%, and then when my exposure hits 70%, the zebras will appear on that person's face. So I know that I just need to dial that back a little bit until the zebras just go, and that face will be exposed well. If I'm out and about and I'm just shooting things that don't have people's faces in or any kind of skin, I'll change my zebras and I'll knock them up to something like 90%. Because the main thing is that we don't want to clip our highlights. So the higher our zebras, the brighter it can be before the zebras come on our image. So as we can see here, with the zebras at 90%, just these hot spots where the light's coming through are showing up as zebras. Whereas if we go back into our menu and go back to the 70% and go out, we can see that the complete left side is covered in those zebras because the level is set lower than that 90%. So zebras are great because you can just set the percentage of what you want your exposure to be, and as soon as the brightness hits that, those zebras will show visibly on your camera monitor. So you can set these to different tolerances depending on what you want to expose for.